Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to another Nuts and Bolts show. I am Straight Jacket Jim, and I'm joined by the ever lovely Natty. How are you going, Natty?
Oh, good. Apparently ever lovely. I like
Ever
it.
lovely.
I'll stick with it. Definitely not freezing.
No. Anybody would think it's winter or something.
Yeah, yes, I had a few people this morning who were making posts of them opening their doors this morning and going, nope, walking back to bed. Because I think it
Oh,
was -1 in Melbourne this morning.
oh. Oof. I mean,
Yeah.
I had my heater on here, but Perth doesn't generally get that. If we get below 5 degrees overnight, that's when it's really cold. But
Mm.
um, But yeah, no, I still had my heater on this morning. But it's lucky because we've got lots of exciting esports news to warm us up. So let's crack on. So we've got LCO, of course, and I only realised today, as I was preparing for the show, there are only 3 weeks of LCO left till playoffs.
I could not believe it when you mentioned that. Just what?
It doesn't.
Insane.
Yeah, I was watching last night, and they said, "Oh, this is the third round robin that started," and I go, "Oh, that must mean they're pretty late into it." Yeah, and then I sat down, 6 rounds to go, 3 weeks because they do the 2 nights, and it's crazy. And this week, looking at the results, so look, honestly, once again, not a lot of surprises there. Chiefs still winning. Kanga did do their best to try and take it to them, and I'm really glad to see Kanga coming up because I think they've improved. They've been the most improved team this split, I think.
Oh yeah, I wish they did the old school sports trophies for the
Mm,
LCO. Like most improved
yeah,
is definitely can go in the bag. Yeah.
maybe we can just like when they're at Dreamhack, we'll just like flick the casting desk like $5 or something and say, can you just like give out a most improved team award or something? Yeah,
Oh, I just need to smuggle in our own trophy and
that's it.
find their coach.
Here you go. Yeah, and it's been great to see it because like for so long. Well, if I say for so long, this is only the second split of the second year of the LCO, and I think Kanga's only been in it for 2 or 3 splits. I can't remember when they joined exactly, but yeah, but it's great to see that they've stuck with the lineup that they've got. They've developed that, and they're doing so much better now. But the question still is, can anybody beat Chiefs? It's a little crazy.
Streak is nuts. I really enjoyed Rusty talking about
Mm.
them last week on the interview that you had with him because, they're on a tear and anybody watching at the moment, they are the people to go to Worlds for us if they get the opportunity and take it out, I think.
Yeah.
But, season's not over, still 3 weeks and then playoffs. So
It's not, but I think as much as I love PGG and I would love to see them get up and start performing again, like it would be, I think, a travesty at this point if Chiefs didn't make it to Worlds. Like they are by far our most consistent and best team in the league, and I think they're our best shot as the OCE region to go deep into Worlds.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
I completely agree.
speaking of PGG, I do want to have a chat about them because I don't know what they were thinking in that game against Direwolves because they the first game on Monday they lost against Direwolves, and actually I have to try and see if I can find the graph because it's an insane goal difference graph because Pentanet were just slowly building, and then I don't know if it was a communication thing or if Balkan just decided he wanted to try and wreck everybody, but there were like 2 or 3 sort of skirmishes in a row where Balkan's just gone Leroy Jenkins and sent it and got wiped off the map, and the gold lead like plummets. It was like 4K in Pentanet's favor, and it's just like a cliff face, and Direwolves got a 4K lead and ended up winning. So
Wow.
I
So just not coordinated going into the team fights.
Yeah, that's it. Or just taking a team fight where there really wasn't one, and it was that was a game that Pentanet should have won, and yeah, they threw hard, and I'm not quite sure what happened. Like I said, like they've got the 3 Korean players, so maybe it's a communications issue. I don't know, but they did back it up last night with a solid win over Kanga, and as we were saying, they've been quite improved. They took it to Chiefs on Monday night, so it was a real threat that Kanga might beat them. But no, they held solid and took a win there. Other results, Peace went 1-1, so they beat Gravitas and lost to Direwolves. Order beat Mammoth and Gravitas as well, so those are two games that you'd expect them to win. But in terms of standing, that means we've actually got a clear first, second, and third now. So Chiefs way out in front. Nobody's going to be able to, like, the Chiefs would have to lose every game for the rest of the split to lose first spot. That's the reality of where we're at.
And how crazy of a situation is that for them to be in? Like, all they're where they should be. Absolutely.
Orders in second on 10 wins, and then Direwolves in third on 9 wins, and then we've got equal fourth between Peace and Pentanet with 8 wins apiece. Unfortunately, with the 2 losses this week, Kanga's sitting on 6 wins, so it's going to continue to be hard for them to get back up into there. But they're still within striking distance. It's not unheard of, so it could possibly happen. Peace and Pentanet are in the firing line there, so fingers crossed that Kanga might be able to get up and get in there.
It's nice for the first time in a few weeks we're seeing the separation on the leaderboard a little bit. Now we're seeing the true leads of the pack, and then the other positions actually placed. They're actually separated by wins and losses at the moment.
It's still only 2 games between equal fourth and second, but it's nice to see that separation and not having to rely on complicated head-to-head measurements. It does my head in when there's 2. It's not so bad. Like, you can work that out. But when there's like 3 or 4 teams tied, and like I remember the last season of World of Tanks ANZPL, there was some complicated thing. Like, there were 3 teams that were going to end up on equal points for fourth, and if that happened, Perth was going to go through. But if there was only 2 teams and one of them was Perth was going to miss out. And it's just like, it hurt. Head-to-heads hurt my head. It's fun. But yeah, and then, of course, with the LCO bringing up the rear, we've got Mammoth and Gravitas there. Gravitas still without a win. But Mammoth have had some good-looking players there. So if they've come out with some good early strategies, but have been obviously outscaled in later games there. So fingers crossed that we can maybe see a couple little upsets in there. Throw a bit of a spanner in the works and see if we can get some other teams coming up.
Hopefully.
There was some exciting LCO news that was announced this week as well. So we know that the Split 2 final is going to be played live at Dreamhack. Well, LCO have announced that the lower bracket final will also be played at Dreamhack as well. So
that's
two live
really
finals.
Yay!
And it's another one of those, straw on the camel's back to try and get me to buy tickets to go to Dreamhack.
I know. They're making it impossible for you, aren't they?
I know. I need... This is where I'm at, right? I'm going to get my tax refund, and I need to get a new fridge. And now this has come up, and it's almost like, I could use that for going to Dreamhack instead. I don't know. I could. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But Dreamhack is just shaping up to be such an amazing event as well. So we've got the LCO Split 2 Grand Final, as well as the lower bracket final now. But we've also got the ESL Challenger for CSGO and the HSC ANZ Regional, which is the Halo Championship Series for Halo Infinite. So that's going to be amazing. And they've recently announced the caster desk for this event. So we've got Fluke is going to be hosting. I'm seeing some of his stuff. He's quite he's a good host there that knows his stuff. So it'll be good to see how he goes. And then of course for the casting desk we've got Blue Panda, who actually pops into our Discord every now and then. So
cool lots of Blue Panda.
That's it. Good to see him getting a gig there. SSJ4, and then as an analyst, Momentum, and Natty as the interviewer as well. So like Natty does well too. So I'll be excited to see her interviews. We've seen her a bit in the LCO Split 1, so excited to see some more stuff from her there.
Yeah, I miss my Nat T because I haven't been able to see that much of the LCO, and I know she's been traveling a lot as well. So it's good to have her back for Dreamhack.
Exactly. And tickets are still on sale for Dreamhack. Get in, grab them, have a look at what's going on, because it's just going to be an exciting thing, because there's like LAN events there as well. There's all sorts. There's an expo going on, not just the esports stuff. Although I think like if you're going to DreamHack, you're going for the esports finals, and
hopefully,
yeah, fingers crossed.
That's September 2nd to September 4th. So
Yes.
if you haven't put in your leave already,
Yeah,
definitely do that.
it does sound like a good idea. We should be getting onto that. Anybody want to sponsor us to go over there? You know,
Oh, heck yeah.
I'll take that. I can be bought. I've never been backwards about that.
We were having a joke that Good Guys afforded massive half-page ads on the front newspapers across the country today.
Mm.
I was like, come on, Good Guys, just give us some money.
That's it.
Send us to DreamHack. Maybe we can spruik some of your super high-end PCs that you sell.
I'll wear their shirts everywhere. Like I said, I can be. I am an advertising billboard, mobile advertising billboard. Come at me, people. Come on. But in more esports news, PlayStation has made some moves. It's an interesting thing. Like, I must admit, I hadn't heard of this org that they've bought, but they've bought Repeat.gg, which, looking into it, they're basically a tournament site. So they do a lot of tournaments there, and I have a lot of player statistics. And reading up on them, I didn't realize they've hosted over 100,000 tournaments. That's a crazy number.
Yeah, insane amount of experience they've got there, and I'm really excited to see what PlayStation are planning with Repeat GG. You know, clearly they've bought them with some projects in mind. Maybe we'll get to see, who knows? I don't even know. I can't think of what PlayStation titles at the moment really they would be jumping on board to utilize this with.
Yeah,
Can't think of any exclusives because
to me, like, and this is probably just because it's another recent purchase by Sony, but I have in my head, like, what can they do with Destiny? Because like they have the Crucible, is it? I think that's their PvP setting there. So yeah, I'm wondering if they might be looking at doing something there.
Oh, that is a very exciting thought. New IP?
Yeah, and I mean, Destiny's not, because it's more a PvE type thing and more raiding and stuff like that. So it's not something that's generally looked at as an esport. But maybe this could be it. Maybe they're going to be doing some Crucible esport events and tournaments, which will be interesting to see. Wild speculation on my part, but you know, it's fun to speculate.
That's what we're here for, making wild guesses, and nobody will hold us accountable when we're wrong.
And to have some clickbaity title for this video when it goes up on YouTube.
That's right.
And on
Is PlayStation starting a new Destiny esports league?
That's it. Yeah. Oh my god! I look, I have to tell a story because we've recently moved some of our podcasts to a different platform, and I was going through some stats on it because we put the videos up on YouTube as well as broadcast this live on twitch.tv/GameOnOz. And I was comparing some stats, and I noticed that one of our YouTube videos had a bit higher than normal views. And I've dug into it, and I found out it's because it was a couple of weeks ago, and we showed a clip of Rogue having trouble tying his tie on an LCO draft pick. And I named the episode just stupidly, someone Google how to tie a tie. And a great proportion of our viewers for that came from people Googling how to tie a tie. It's just like, Thank you, Google and YouTube algorithm for giving us those views. I mean, they didn't stick around very long when they found out that it wasn't actually about tying a tie, but you know, maybe we should just like take that and we'll go for the clickbaity ones like PlayStation making Destiny an esport. We'll go that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, maybe we just need to get Rogue on to do a proper tutorial.
Yeah.
The whole episode is him trying to tie the tie and then working it out at the end.
I'm just picturing Sticks, one of our long-term community members, Sticks, because he's mad into Destiny, and I'm not sure how he would take Destiny being an esport. It would be interesting. Maybe we'll have to. Hopefully, you'll be in chat and we can ask him about that, his thoughts on that.
Yes.
But moving on, we've had some fun with that one. Let's go head on. So last week we were talking about the VCT Masters in Copenhagen. So this is Valorant. They're down to their last 4 competitors now, which is super exciting.
Yeah, so we are really lucky that one of the APAC teams, sorry, excuse my stumble there.
They're an APAC team. No, like Apex as in up high, not Apex as in Legends.
APAC. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Not the game Apex.
That's it.
PaperX has made it through to the top 4, which is cool, and I think Jim's been very kind to pull up the brackets for us. We've got PaperX actually making it through the upper bracket all the way to the top 4, which is very cool. They didn't have to do their lower bracket run.
Yep, and that's it. And they're facing off against 3 EMEA teams in there as well. So starting off with Paper Rex going up against Optic Gaming in the upper bracket final to secure that grand final spot. And in the lower bracket, you've got FPX versus Fnatic in the lower bracket. The loser of that goes out the back door. The winner goes on to face the loser from the upper bracket final. So it's going to be fun. That's getting closer and closer right there to that final. And I should have done this before, but when's the grand final? So the end date is on the 24th of July. So that's this weekend, I believe.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So yeah, tune in, watch it. Going to be massive. See who's going to take home the $200,000 US prize for first place. That's going to
not a bad prize pool there.
That's it. I do like that the EMEA, and that's a bit of a mouthful to try and say. I don't know if there's a shorter way to say that, but I do like that region is doing quite well. But you know, can't go past the APAC people.
Oh no, absolutely. Got to support local.
That's it. And it's going to be fun to see that. So tune in right there. So that's a lot of the esports news done. So we wanted to have a bit of a chat because globally, and we're going to get a little bit financy here now and how that will affect esports. But I think it's a chat that needs to be had because we love these teams, but they also need to be viable as companies. And a few teams have started letting go of players as we head into what's looking to be a recession. So less money's being spent. Teams need to save money, so they're letting go of a lot of people in the realms of like content creation and sort of support areas, which is an interesting thing. Because there was an article you linked us to, Natty, in our Discord chat that we have about how recession-proof is esports. And it's an interesting read. There was a couple of things I took away from that article. And one was that esports revenue is closely tied with video game revenue, and that's forecast to shrink by 1.2% from 191 billion to 188 billion. With heading into a recession, interest rates generally go up, which means that capital will be harder to get for these businesses. And also, as belts tighten, ads and sponsorship money tends to go, which is the lifeblood of the esports industry, I feel.
Yeah, it was interesting. So, Straight's brought up a tweet from Chris Mayo. So he's one of the guys to know in Australia for esports and gaming business, who broke this news locally. And we were having a chat with Pete in our Discord about it, and he just said, of course, it makes sense that the end of the financial year is when all the reporting comes through, but also that's when they're securing new partnerships for the next financial year. And in light of the coming recession, those businesses that previously did support these big esports orgs must be pulling out dollars, and that having the flow on effect of losing the staff in the background that are doing the support work. We haven't seen big notifications about any teams being let go at this stage.
That usually
Which,
comes at the end of the calendar year, and it's a funny thing
yes,
in.
yeah.
I'm not sure how it works in other countries, but in Australia, the taxation year is July 1st to 30th of June the following year. But a company can set its own financial year. So the company I work for is a training institution. So they've set their financial year as the 1st of January to the 31st of December. So they do their taxes based on that. And a lot of these orgs, they sign for the year. So like at the end of Split 2 in the LCO, we'll probably see a heap of player movements and God forbid, maybe even team stuff going on.
Yeah, yeah.
So
My concern would be the esports that are maybe typically classed B tier
mm,
esports, that they might start losing competitive
yeah,
teams and great players because they can't be financially supported through the recession, which is difficult.
mm.
It's difficult.
It really is, and you see some of the higher level um, teams and organizations have pivoted a bit, and you see it a lot in not just esports orgs, but companies in general when they've got a good idea that they want to fund, but that doesn't make them the money. They diversify into somewhere else where that will make them the money. And you've seen it in things like FaZe Clan, who do a lot of entertainment based stuff as well. Like we speak about it a few times, but you know they've hired Snoop Dogg to rate, like that's raising their profile so they can be seen. And you said earlier that they've gone public as well, so they
T tomorrow,
tomorrow they
sorry.
sorry tomorrow.
Which is very strange as well. They had a
Mm,
merger last week with another company, so
mm,
they're making a lot of business moves in
mm.
moving into a unstable financial time. The timing of everything they're doing is interesting to me. So I think trying to capitalize on the previous success before maybe the recession hits them
Yeah,
too hard.
well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like when you go public and you're getting shares, I guess you want, when there's goodwill and good image around the company at the time, that's when you want to sell the shares because that's when people are buying the
Mm,
that's when the price you're going to get for the shares is going to be the best, and that's going to bring
yeah.
you the most money in. Um, and then afterwards, I always get a bit like the financial markets are an interesting beast in and of itself, and um, it once the share has been bought by someone, I don't think the company sees any more money from that. But the owner of the share can get like dividends depending on how big the company
Yeah,
is and
yeah,
things like
yeah.
that. So look, and an esports team doing that is probably looking at just getting that instant influx of cash to maybe try and weather the storm and shore themselves up a little bit for the oncoming recession. Um, but that's not the only thing teams can do. There's another team, Sub Nation, that's turning themselves into a holding company, which basically means a company that owns other companies. So they've been buying up some other things to help fund what they do in their esports arm as well. So it's um, it's a tried and true idea. So like they're just trying to explore those other ways that teams can make their money.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when we're talking about the markets, I think people tend to want to invest in things that have been safe in the past over
Mm.
recessions. So, you know, things like utilities and things like that, which is, you know, esports are definitely non-essential.
Mm.
So I think the idea of diversifying with holdings where well, you know, our whole team needs power to run, so let's invest in a
Mm.
power company kind
Yeah.
of makes sense.
Mm.
Just on the you know, surface level of it.
See,
Um,
I look at going public in a different way because esports and like I do mention this a lot. Esports and sports have a lot in common. They also have a lot different, but they have a lot in common. And when it comes to fans, fans will love a team. They
mm,
will support that team. And for an esports company to go public, I think that they will get a lot of sales from people that don't even really understand the market and will just be buying them because they're a fan of FaZe Clan.
oh, definitely.
Mm.
I think most of us would remember the get stuff that happened with GameStop last
Oh
year.
yeah.
You know, a lot of people that never invested in the share market dove in to stop their GameStop from being mucked around with by the hedge
Mm.
funds and being short. So,
I I haven't had a look because like I'd be interested to see what GameStop's stock price is like now and what those people have done that like bought in when it was high. I like because eventually the stock price would have normalized
um,
and
yeah, I mean, the whole intention around it was to try and stop the hedge funds
mm,
from interfering with it, basically betting that the price would go
yeah,
down and then creating market factors that would cause the price to go down. I'm just having a quick look now. So the current share price is 151 USD.
that's still pretty
Um,
up there for a
it's still pretty up
yeah.
there. Yeah, looking at the last year. It's not too bad. So it had, you know, yeah, drops to around 70 USD and it's
Mm,
had peaks up to 250.
mm. Yeah, that would have been at the height of the
That,
game stonks.
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah, definitely.
so look in terms of esports, like it could be something that works for for companies and but you still have to have the people out there willing to buy though the shares or have the capital to buy other companies as well. So not every esports org is going to be able to do that. So I kind of once again I go sort of the traditional sports look at what they're doing, and one of the big things is media rights. At the moment, there's reports in the news the AFL, the Australian Football League, which is the big Australian rules football national competition and body that looks after that. There's a big talk about TV rights, and we're talking like 600, $700 million for that, and like it's always been elusive um, for esports to be able to get that sort of broadcast deal. Like I don't know, and I don't know how that can happen. Like, and I also don't know if like Riot and trying to think of the like Dota and CS:GO and all the rest of them, if they get a share of anything other than just ad and sub revenue um,
Oh, you
from
know,
Twitch.
Twitch or
That's the
YouTube.
word I was looking for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be interested because we've certainly, if anybody who watches Streamaholics is up with the gaming industry news, like those big players tend to have unique deals with
Mm,
Twitch to broadcast those events. So they might be getting a greater percentage of ad revenue in their pocket or some other incentive to be
yeah.
there, and it might be worth their while. But yeah, media is rights is a really interesting discussion because esports has never really broken through the traditional media market as far as having esports on regular TV. Um,
I also don't
I
think it's
don't know
something
what.
that would
Yeah,
survive. Like regular TV,
yeah,
I don't think it would survive. But in a streaming service, like
mm,
for those watching in Australia, like KO, like
yes,
that could
yeah,
potentially because I think the way that esports fans consume the content is very different to how traditional sports fans consume content. And I think that you cannot go to a Foxtel or a Channel 7 or Channel 10 or Channel 9 and go, cool, pay us to broadcast this, because people won't watch it.
Yeah.
I think you need it needs to be on a streaming service, one, and whether that's trying to get in with something like YouTube or Facebook, although both of those seem to be more in trying to encourage individual streamers. But I mean, the LCO, looking at that's 4,000 to 5,000 viewers pretty much every game, or every stream, because they do 4 games a night. I'm not sure what the balance of that is over there, but yeah, you look at it and there's like at any one given time there's like 4,000 to 5,000 people watching. That's a lot of eyes, and I think that you need to sort of try and approach some of those other streaming companies and go, cool, what can you do for us? What can you offer us to try and get that? Because the people's income will go up and down. They'll stop buying merch. They'll stop supporting sponsors. They'll do this. They'll do that. But media rights are a big one that I think needs to be looked at a little bit more to see if there's something that can be done there.
Yeah. It would be really interesting to know what those deals are like behind the scenes. You'd like to hope that the orgs and the tournament organizers are getting a fair deal, but maybe they're not, and maybe that's something that they can leverage a little bit more.
And another thing as well, and I'm not sure how you can do this, but ticket sales. So like traditional sports people go and watch them, but they also get flown around the country doing stuff. And when you're talking about, and particularly about OCE, flights are a big expense, and usually they get on board with one of the airlines as a sponsor. And that one I don't think is feasible. I don't think that there's the interest in people going from city to city watching the esports events. I think, and especially because esports teams aren't specific to a city. Though it's different when it's a sporting team and they're based in a particular place. But when you're talking about an esports team that moves around, like even like Pentanet.gg, which is named for a company that's you can only get internet from in Perth, most of them live on the East Coast. And part of that's a ping thing. So that's that. But also like it raises a whole heap of other things, like you've got to have support staff there to house them. You've got to accommodate the away team when they visit. So that's a whole heap of other costs. So I don't think that one's one that can support and esports orgs to get more money.
Oh, yeah, and I think we're also dealing with that ongoing tricky situation that COVID's presenting. We're in the middle of our third, fourth wave, depending on what part of the country you're from. And so that's when the LAN events become less viable. That's when the travel is less viable. Fingers crossed that hurdle sorts itself out soon. But it's a tricky time, and lots of people that are, I think, smarter than us in the industry are working on it. It will be really interesting to see what solutions come out from this. Are people like FaZe Clan and 1000T still going to be doing their massive partnerships with clothing brands and fragrances and all those crazy things that they do? Or is that going to start slowing down as well? I think locally, teams like Order have done a really good job of forming a lot of local partnerships and sponsorships. But they're the ones that we've seen being reported that are losing their behind the scenes staff. So it's you're worried that worse news is coming at this stage.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to think, like, what else can be done? Like, to me, it just sort of seems like that you need to grow the support for it as well. And that's one of the things that it's hard for esports because they're so different and varied. Like traditional sports, oh, there's a ball, let's get it in the goal, and that's it.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't matter what sport you're playing. There is generally a ball, and you have to do something with that ball, and you can
And you
watch
have
it.
to move it somewhere.
Yeah, and it's all based
Yeah.
in this real world physics engine that we've got. So like it
Yes.
so you can watch any sport, and you know things are going to react a certain way. You know, people get tired, and so you know, like small people might be quicker and stuff like that. So, and I think
Yeah.
what you've got to try and do is build up some minor leagues and grassroots stuff, and have like a clear progression between them. And I think if you start doing that, and like I play field hockey myself, and one of the things that we've done, we were a small club, and we found somebody that really good at what they do, and that was they developed programs, and we went into primary schools around the area, and what's the word, delivered hockey programs, and our numbers grew tremendously to the point where the Western Australian hockey body went, cool, can we borrow that and give it to other clubs so that they can do something similar to grow hockey numbers. And really, I'm not saying esports needs to do that exactly, but there needs to be something to gain interest at the junior level. And once again, it's hard when the lifespan of a player is fairly short. Like I don't know what the oldest player in the LCO is, but I'd guess it's mid-20s at the most.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few factors around that as well. Like, there's not that much longevity in the career because you need a decent income, and that's not something that's currently very well provided for. I love the idea of a esports Auskick, like whatever the translation of that is, esports summer camps. But I think we do have another hurdle in the way of that, which is potentially parents of the older generation who do have some timidity. I don't know if that's the right word, hesitancy around more screen time for their kids, and what I've really loved in the past is places like Murdoch University going into high schools and running esports programs. And again, Chris Mayo has been involved with kicking off some of those programs in some other parts of the country. That's a good place to start. If Order and if Pentanet and those teams, don't know where this money comes from. Maybe, government supported, subsidized something, give the players some money and get their working with kids checks, and then they can go into schools and start running some, weekend, events or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree we need to try something else and work harder. And there's been a big push for getting back to grassroots generally, and I agree that's where the growth needs to be coming from.
And honestly, if you're trying to implement this before the oncoming reception, now you're probably too late.
Well,
I mean,
I hate to say it, but like,
anything's better than nothing, but you're probably too late.
if you can prove there's jobs in it, the government might give you money for it. Like Screen Australia just gave a lot of money to a lot of indie devs around the country, and I think that if somebody can prove their case, I think that some state governments might be behind supporting some initiatives if it gets people working.
Yep, and I think that might be about it. Like it's an interesting discussion, and it's a harder discussion to have around sports, because sports and esports are very passion driven things. They're very emotional. And when you start sitting down and trying to talk about the financial viability of them, which esports needs as well, it's harder to quantify that sort of thing. And especially when a lot of the orgs are privately owned and they keep a lot of this stuff hidden And I think that's also another area where these companies and organizations need to grow. Is probably more from a league organization point of view, in that, like, having privately owned teams, fine, but the overseeing body, I think, needs to have a little bit more clearer regulations. Well, when I say clear, I mean transparent, so that the general people know what's going on as well.
Yeah.
But I think that's about it for our time. Thank you, Natty, for coming along again. I keep saying coming. You're a co-host. You're always here. You're not.
That's fine.
Yeah, but it's been good to have a chat about these things, and I do like diving into these extra topics as well, just to have a chat about esports in general and what can be done there.
Yeah. And as I said before, really interested to see how our esports teams and leagues manage to ride through this next challenging period. They have all of our support and love to make it through.
But at the same time, don't forget to play your players.
Oh, yes. Always pay your players, please.
Yep. Cool. But thank you so much for that, and we will see everybody next week. Thank you so much for stopping by to watch this video. If you like what you're seeing, why not check out this video here? Or if you really like us, drop us a subscribe. And don't forget to like and comment as well. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.